Hello and welcome. Welcome to this very sacred transmission. And it is an honor for me to be in your presence, and I welcome you into my presence. The previous transmission that I've posted on this channel is called The Greatest Intimacy of All, and the yearning for that great intimacy. And during that transmission, I realized somewhere halfway through that something else was busy occurring within me. And although I felt that, I continued with the recording of it because it felt like there was a very specific learning that was occurring during that. And I'll be honest if I say I didn't want to publish that transmission, and the answer was just clear. It needs to be published. And if you haven't looked at that transmission yet, what I want to share is that during that transmission, I continuously had this felt sense that I wasn't grounding the teaching of the yearning for intimacy from an integrated perspective. I was very aware that part of the transmission was very much still from a place that was seeking to integrate. And that recording was about 2 days ago. And this last 2 days, I felt so much integration taking place within me. And what I now know is the importance of giving voice to or giving expression to an experience that is very close to our hearts. And I was just reminded of when I was sharing in the transmission of Ascend, Awaken, Ascend, and Embodiment. There was anchorings that needed to take place through giving expression. And I mentioned already there that my awakening phase and moving into ascension was very specifically grounded in the form of written books, Leading with Light and the Wholeness Principle. And I also indicated there that I received guidance that the groundings that will take place after that period will be in a different expression. And that expression is through giving voice to that which is not only being transcended, but also grounded as the foundation upon which all of us as leaders and guardians and stewards are doing. And I want to encourage you to continue to do so. Give expression in a way that you are moved to do so. My movement has taken place in the form of making a recording, and I'm very aware that there lies a power in being not only being received through those that are watching me, but all of you are a witness to that which is also being expressed, meaning as soon as you listen to and look at this transmission and receiving all the codes that you are here to receive, we are weaving a very sovereign field that is being grounded for the collective, so that there's a very stable foundation upon which to build. And during the recording of the greatest yearning of all is for intimacy, it's exactly what has happened there. I've given expression to that which is very, very personal and sacred to me. and I know is very personal and sacred to many, many people in human form, because it is a very intimate experience to be with another. And whether that other, being with the other is with one other person or groups of other people, isn't what it's about. Neither is it about being intimate in your physical intimacy with a partner, or a physical emotional or conversation that is taking place. That is also very intimate. There's a lot of sharings that happens between people, that I know is what is always called, I know I can talk to you. It is safe for me to be sharing this very intimate experiences with you, because I know that you will honor the sovereignty with which that field in which we are in each other's presence is, and therefore for it to be shared. So having said that, the experiences that I've shared in that transmission was around, the first part was very much around the moving of energy that I felt during a very important conversation that I had with my husband still at that time, and how that has became a very significant experience for us from that moment forward. And it empowered me to see the reason which my soul has chosen his soul to go into a relationship that is very, very, very sacred, and how that relationship has also transformed through not only having him in my presence in physical form, but also in the unseen world, and the beauty that lies within that. And I felt it was important for me just to share that again. So if you haven't seen that that recording yet, it also therefore demonstrates and ground the importance of having conversations around a topic which I know is becoming more comfortable for couples these days, but I also know that it's also still very uncomfortable for many, many, many people. Yet I now know the power of having those conversations in the sacredness of the intention thereof, because it is very empowering to have that experience of our energy to move freely through us and not be held unexpressed towards others. And having said that, there's also something else that was still with me, that I've said during that transmission, and that is I refer to sexual energy and life force energy, and that I didn't feel comfortable with those two words. And the reason I shared that is the energy in which those words were used previously, from my perspective, is not sovereign. If I hear people talk about sex, I don't hear the conversation around that and the energy with which it is shared as sovereign. And if you make yourself aware just for a moment, when you've heard people talk about, or yourself for that matter, what was the energy around that word? Because I think there's a lot of therefore clearing that needs to happen around that. And the same with life force energy, because when there's a word force or forceful, for me that is not grace. And therefore why I had shared that with you. So the energy for me from which all is created is a life-giving energy. So when I speak about creation energy, I speak about life-giving energy, giving expression to, as a creator, through creativity, to that which we are creating. And I just want to ground that for a moment, so that we have a shared understanding of what life-giving energy is for me. And having said that, the purpose of this transmission is to share the sovereignty of intimacy. And to ground that through all that is going to be moving through me. The moment in which creation bursted into life, that which bursted into life from our divine parents, is a heart field of the whole cosmos. It is one heart field beating and breathing the cosmos into being. And that heart field is sovereign, it is whole, it is unified, it is crystalline, and it is pristine in its nature. And the movement of that life-giving energy through this heart field, for me, is grace. It is giving an expression to creation as creators through grace. And as I also shared in one of the other transmissions, we are all expressions of this heart field of grace. And we are in the field, all of us, as expressions of creation, is in the heart field of the cosmos, of our divine parents. And everything that's in the heart field comes into the heart field as an expression of a form. So we give expression as a form. And it's either a human form, a plant form, an animal form, a mineral form. And as we chose to incarnate in human form, so to give expression through the sovereignty of the heart field of creation, through the grace of our being birthed into, given into this earthly bodies of our being, we choose to do so in a gender, either through a feminine gender or a masculine gender. And I think that's important. It's a choice how we come into this, how we express ourselves and come into this worldly experience. It is a choice. And I have chosen in this incarnation, in this most beautiful moment of creation, where there's not only individual ascensions that is occurring, but also ascension of our collective consciousness, and therefore also ascension of all our minerals, animals, and plants, and our planetary body, our solar system, our galactic system, and our universal system. Our whole cosmos is ascending and giving an expression to a new way of being. And that new way of being is sovereign. It is graceful. And it is through the graceful use of life-giving energy that we are starting to create. And I really think it's important that as leaders and stewards and guardians of this consciousness, of being expressions and grounding the expression of sovereignty in the cosmos, it's important for us to create spaces and spaciousness for others, to experience others in the intimacy of our presence, which also includes the intimacy that is to be held in conversations. And I'm sharing that again for a shared understanding. Just want to ground that for a moment. Okay. The first a knowingness that in every moment we are, and if we're not there to return to, is the sovereign heart field of creation. So we are divine formlessness, experiencing ourselves through form, either in human form, either in masculine or feminine form. And therefore, as guardians, stewards, and leaders, when we are in interaction with others, to be so through our heart fields, through the essence and truth of who we are in our sovereign and graceful natures. And therefore, when we see others or hear conversations from others where there's still an energy that we perceive as not unified, it is about staying fully present in the truth of who we know ourselves to be through our heart fields, and to give witness to that which we are seeing, to those energies that we are seeing. And then through doing so, there's not only the honoring of another's path, but there's also the energy of our fields creating a field of unconditional love for that needs to be expressed and heard from this unconditional place of grace, for it to be so. Because as the collective consciousness of humanity is awakening, ascending, and starting to embody the sovereignty of their true natures, there is expressions and conversations to be held. And whether that is in our households or in our communities or the larger collective consciousness conversations on our planetary expression, all of that is going to be expressions that's not quite unified yet, as we were also not quite unified yet during our awakening and ascension. And now that we are moving through those phases in our embodiment phases and standing on that foundations of sovereignty, I really think it's our responsibility to create these spaces where intimate conversations can be held on all levels of being, on all expressions. And when another human being is in your presence, and whether they're not in your presence, it's just conversations that you hear from another, about another, etc., another family member, another friend, another person that they know, conversations that we are hearing or what we are seeing in social media or on other transmissions like television and radio and, all of that, and music, all expressions, music, film, Zoom meetings, YouTube meetings and expressions, all of that, which we as guardians, leaders, and stewards, that is standing in our heart fields, our sovereign fields of grace and unconditional divine love that we are, to not only hear and receive that in that spaciousness that we are providing for others, but to know through doing so and being the witness thereof, either through sight or through hearing or through expression or beingness, our fields are transmuting those energies because we are conscious about what we are seeing or hearing or feeling or experiencing. Just want that to move through. And having said that, I would love to share with you, after the transmission, about the yearning for intimacy that I've done and the integration that has happened while I was doing that transmission, and after that for a few hours still. Actually, it was more than a few hours. It was about 36 hours. I allowed that which needed to move through me and to still be integrated to happen so naturally. And then yesterday evening, I was just sitting. I wasn't even intentionally focused on, I'm going to create space to meditate. It wasn't like that. I was just moving around in the house, and then I went to sit. And in that moment, I knew that the integration was complete, because during this last 2 days specifically, I saw images, and I saw the image again and again. And when I went to sit yesterday evening, I saw how that came to completion. And I know I have to share it, because it is therefore becoming the vehicle through which that which I want to share is going to come into being. I shared with you that my husband was 3 weeks in ICU, that I witnessed the deterioration of his cellular beingness while I was fully present with him on a human and on a divine level. I was very aware. I was between the two levels the whole time. And the last 24 hours, he could not breathe on his own. And when I got there the first part of the 24 hours, so call it hour 3, 4 into it, it was time to visit him. And when I entered the room, he had this black mask on. It was fully covered over the back of his head and the front. And then there was just this hole through which the oxygen was linked up to this oxygen tank. And so that was the first thing I saw. And then I saw his hands were tied to the bed. And I remember I saw that. And I said to myself, be fully present in your divinity right now, and be fully present with Martin, my husband. And so on a human level, I was so shocked and by what I saw. Simultaneously, my divine nature knew there was a reason why I'm seeing this, firstly, and secondly, why my husband went through that experience in that way. And so the next visiting hour, same thing, next one, same thing, and that evening is when he passed away. And the months after, I was still walking through that path that I was on, and the reason for that path being the way that it was constructed is the word that comes to me. I thought I've completely healed and transcended the energy of what I saw and experienced when I was with him with that mask and being tied to the bed. And now I know that completion of what I needed to evolve through was not yet experienced in this previous transmissions. So I knew that, but only last night I knew the real reason. So last night I went to sit, and I felt the presence of my unified field with the presence of Sophia. And the grace of my heart field weaving and breathing in complete calmness and peace and clarity and grace is what I felt. And in 1 second, I saw myself standing as the hospital bed is like this, and my husband is there with the mask and being tied to the bed. I saw myself standing, myself and Sophia standing through the bed like this in the middle, through my husband's, next to my body, through the bed next to his body. And I saw my hands and Sophia's hands untying his hands from the bed, taking the mask off, and my husband's voice saying to me, I've never been trapped in this body as a soul. I've always been free. And I am the expression of your masculine energy showing this to you. And oh, my whole body just got goosebumps again. And so this was last night. And whew, so I heard that voice, and then I felt Sophia again fully in me. And her words was, ever so gracefully and gently, I heard, what I had to witness was the symbolism of the head of the household, the head of the community, the head of the nation, and the head of all nations being trapped in physical form. And the mask was just a symbolism of that. And after I heard that, just after that, in that moment, I heard, and now that you've witnessed that in physical form and heard that, which she just shared, now only know that the masculine energy within you are now unifying with your feminine energy in physical form, because you know in spiritual form it's always been one. And that's also the mental energy, that which and from which in human form we give expression to and create from, as it moves to our energy, our emotional body, and through our physical body. But it starts in that one. And therefore, I just want you to quickly take a moment in the awareness, in the sovereignty and the grace of our unified heart field, where we are always in oneness with our divine parents. To know that you've chosen a gender expression, and whether it is male or female, the other expression of which you are in energy form and expressions in your life are the teachers or the masters that is showing you that which needs in physical form to be healed and transcended and included, therefore, in the sovereignty of your heart field, so that that can become one. And to always remember, as you know, this is just a reminder in the moment, that all the expressions outside of us that is still stirring us a bit we chose that. It is not about the person that you get in contact with. It's about the energy that is being reflected, that needs to be held within you and transcended through the grace of your heart field. So you know exactly who's the people that get on your nerves, so to speak. It is that masculine or feminine energy outside of you that's being reflected to you for your human consciousness to be healed, to remember that you've always been one field of sovereignty, divine consciousness that is now merging, so that we become the stewards and guardians and leaders of sovereignty in both seen and unseen worlds. We know we are that in the unseen world already. We know this, or else you wouldn't have been listening to or looking at this transmission. You know that's the truth of who you are, the sovereignty of the cosmic heart field of creation, of all of creation. And we came into human form so that we can, through our human senses, become aware in human expressions, the energy that is transcending also into the sovereignty of its original nature within you, so that we can ground and build on these foundations of sovereignty, ground the sovereignty of both the seen and the unseenness of our being into one. And that for me is what embodiment is when the divine formlessness, the sovereign spaciousness, the pristine essence of our heart fields is, we know that's who we are, and to ground that fields for others to also remember the truth of who they are, to awaken to the sovereignty of their true nature too. We need to therefore also weave this last aspects of our unified masculine and feminine energies that might still not be completely unified through this awareness, so that we can therefore become our own, the head of our inner household, or the head of our external household, external communities, and external continents, and our external new expression of that which we know ourselves to be, the sovereignty of our humanity, to be the grounding thereof. So the ground upon which others can enter into our presence as they are guided, and our knowingness that those who we therefore are interaction with, or which we are seeing or hearing or experiencing, will be from our integrated human and divine natures. And so it is. Just want you to take a moment to look at all the forms that is in your heart field. And remember, your heart field weaves through your whole body and through your whole home. And as you look around you, as well as within you, as you stand in the center of your heart field, Just notice those energies that doesn't feel like a coherent flow. And to remember they are all just expressions of our sovereign heart fields. And as you look at the different forms or expressions around you and within you, so when you look within yourself, your first physical form that you'll see within yourself will be your different organs and the spaciousness around that, and outside of you, chairs, table, whatever's in your room, pictures, curtains, pillows, on your body, your clothes. It is all giving expression to our integrated and unified experiences that we are having. I know that I also know when people, sometimes I hear people refer to boats and cars and things like that as she, and also they just came into my awareness again now, and to remember that everything that we see is one. It's one, like a car is a one thing. It is it's a something that was created, but the energy with which it was created can be either from this knowingness of who we are, so from the sovereignty of our heart fields, or from our human perspective, or from our human aspects that's not fully awake and aware and embodied. So it can be, either. And to remember that we are living human lives, and therefore in every new moment, we are still going to experience very personally that which is not integrated yet into the sovereignty of our heart fields, of who we know we are. And that is perfectly fine. That's why we are here. We came here to experience the integration of the different expressions of creation, and whether that is the masculine and feminine aspect of it, or the what's the other words that feels like it's two. I can't even think of a word right now. The beauty, or that which is not beautiful. It's we came here to experience ourselves as integrated sovereign beings, and when we then see that which doesn't appear that way, it is not because we are not true to our path. No, it is in that moment when it appears as something that we then put a name on, as either another man or another woman, or a flower, or a what will we still see, or an expression on television that looks like a war, any of that. It is just to, when we feel in that moment, when you notice, for myself, when I notice that, and there's a moment where a part of me is still looking at not the sovereignty of it, but the expression in its literal form, then I know the very first thing I do after that is return to my standing in the center of my heart field and look with those eyes, through the eyes of grace, to that, and then immediately that which I look at start transforming And I start seeing the grace of the unification that is occurring in that moment, because of the presence of our fields that is touching, as we are emanating it out, our fields are touching all that we enter into. So just to summarize, as the as the head of your home, which is therefore the leader, the guardian, or the steward of the sovereignty of creation, to create the space of sovereignty within your heart field for all the expressions within your body, to be there. So to create that safety for the little ache to come forward, or this thought that still wants to move through the mind, or this emotion that is still coming up, you know, those to hold that space, and just to return in that moment to the remembrance of your sovereignty, and the sovereignty of your heart field that is welcoming all those which wants to still express, to do so in the grace of your presence. And then without you the same, but the practice is to practice that within ourselves. And therefore then in our family, or our with our friends, in our communities, in the places, or the collective that we are serving in all its expressions, is to stay in the center of the grounding of your sovereignty, and allow for that to happen. And there is a temptation always to wanting to say something in the moment. For example, I've taken my mother for Mother's Day to a small little village. She loves symphony concerts, and she loves small villages that where there's a lot of nature still being present. And so we went there, and I remember there were aspects that I wanted to, you know, say, but don't. And then I reminded myself, her soul has chosen her expression and her experience. And for me to be the space and the grace of sovereignty from my heart field doesn't make that therefore not sovereign. It is, or for me to want to change that, it is her choice, and for her to experience. And that was such a humbling remembrance to me, because I want everyone to experience that, and therefore I want to talk to, give expression to. And I was just reminded again, unconditional love, unconditional, whatever needs to be experienced in her field. And when the awakening, ascension, and embodiment is going to happen for her or anyone else that we know, it will be so in perfect time. The only thing that we can do is to stay in the presence of that who we know we are. And there was something else that I also wanted to bring in, which oh, that was it. So the other experience that I had within myself is something that needs to be ground, which I think is very, very, very important. And again, I'm going to a place of vulnerability. probably the most vulnerable I've ever been in any moment. But that has really clarified to me where the origin of that yearning of intimacy came from for me. And that is during times that I was intimate with my husband. And I know that most probably from specific ages upwards in human form, intimacy has taken place in one way or another. There was a moment during my embodiment process that I realized that during the intimate moment between two human beings, where now on a physical level, when the intimacy happens, we are being touched in the place that is the most sacred from a human perspective, within us. And I remember there was a moment when that occurred, that I saw something and I realized, oh my goodness, I need to stop here. And I said to my husband, no, let's just stop. Will you come make us some coffee? And in that moment, because I felt I needed to just process what I've just seen in that moment, I realized, or I seen and then realized, I seen in that moment how the energy or the consciousness that we allow to the most sacred, personal, even if that's the word, place within it, that energy, in that moment I realized, oh my goodness, my husband is a male energy, and therefore the consciousness of our divine father can't be present here. And then I saw the divine mother, and I saw this, and I thought to myself, my goodness, what happens with interaction on a divine level? And I remember I felt comfortable to be in the presence of a divine mother in that moment, and not the divine father. And as I saw that, remember in that moment, that's just what I saw. I didn't think about, but it's one consciousness. But that for me is when I realized, oh, in the most intimate, most intimate place and space within me, I'm not allowing the divine masculine consciousness to be present. And I was very aware of that, but I did allow the divine feminine consciousness to be present. And then I knew that there's something that needs to happen there for me. It was still seen as two. I didn't experience it as one unified presence still. So although I was already communing with Sophia, I was very aware that it was a feminine energy, and I didn't experience her in her masculine energy. I still saw it as two. And I hope I'm expressing that clearly. And in that moment, I realized there's still some work that I need to do on a human level for that knowingness of the unification that it is, the one energy that it is, still needed to take place for me. And I've sat many many hours with Sophia asking that question. And her first sharing with me is when I feel uncomfortable, do I experience her in her feminine or masculine expression? And I asked her, but is it two? She said, well, you are still experiencing it as two. And that is where the greatest teaching was for me. And then there was moments when I really became aware of that, and that has really served me in starting to consciously be with that consciousness within me. And when did I see it as masculine, and what then therefore, what was the people, what was the conversation, what was the experience, what did I sense, what did I feel, what did I hear? So that whole path, which will be different for all of us, is then one to be walked if there's still that feeling that it's two different energies. And I remember that was quite a long path, and I had to integrate it slowly to become more comfortable. And at some stage, remember that, and then after my husband passed away, some of it already started when he was still alive, but after he passed away, there was that is when I really sat with, so how do I see masculine energy and how do I see feminine energy? And it felt like I had to, for myself, understand that the fullness of how that can be, not only through trying to understand, but also how it's expressed. And then started to notice that, and then I started to notice how male and dominant, if the one energy is dominant in a person and the other person not, what the impact was, so there's a lot of richness in start asking those questions to come to a full integration. But I remember my full integration emerging didn't happen the first time when I met Sophia. And not even months after that, that was still during ascension. When I got to embodiment, that was not still there yet fully. And then I realized, oh my, I need to, if that is important to me, which it is I need to really make sense. And I knew that as that will happen, I'll be shown. So I didn't go and look for it. I knew it was unfolding, but I kept asking the question. And I think there's another richness in continue to asking questions within yourself. The answers, as we know, is within us. All the answers is within us. And your awareness, your consciousness, your knowingness of God, of Sophia, of divinity, of our divine mother, our divine father, our divine mother father, the great spirit, the great mother, the great father, all of that, as I shared with you already, it's one consciousness. It's one consciousness. And when I really got to know that within all that I am, when I realized, but I am divine formlessness, experiencing myself as form, as one unified heart field. When that started to really ground in me, there was one moment, because I used to get a lot of headaches, especially when a lot of light consciousness moves through my physical body, when my higher self, my divine nature and the sovereignty of that brings more and more and more and more light into my physical form for me to become that embodiment more stronger and fully. And even before that, the headaches that appears. And I remember at one stage when a lot of light came in, I had this huge headache for a few days, and and then I felt the presence, my unified fullness of my unified presence within me, and Sophia's voice said to me, look, and I look at your head, and I inside, and I looked, and that part that felt like a huge throbbing headache, that energy just moved out of my head and outside, and I could see how that it was almost like a darkish energy just moved out, and she it was okay. That was this pressure that was there, and as that just it almost looked like it just melted into the field, and she literally said to me, it's the consciousness around wanting to make sense of masculine energy that expressed in my body in that way, that merged out. And after that, as it went, I just felt and knew there's a masculine and a feminine energy within me that has merged. And I, in that moment, thought it was me merging, but no, it wasn't me merging. It was my masculine and feminine consciousness that has merged and started to give expression. And why I'm sharing that is just there's a word, a metaphor. It's a metaphor for, although it physically happened with me, but that is how I process and integrate energy. It happens in a very physical way for me. It's a metaphor for something that we are seeing within ourselves and experiencing for example, in my case, as a headache. It is something that's not harmonized yet. It's a aspect of consciousness that's not harmonized yet. And for me, it was a masculine, a metaphor for masculine energy, because as soon as that moved through and then weaved back into the field to return to its highest pristine nature, I was very aware in that same moment when I heard the voice, your consciousness, your human and divine consciousness as merged with regards to the expression as either masculine or feminine energy, because it is one. And then I just knew, okay, here I am in my grounding, the knowing of that. Okay, that is the sharings that I wanted to share here. What I want to do now is I just want to quickly do a very, very short meditation that you can go and extend for yourself to just ground that which we have been giving and receiving from our our unified heart field as a collective, on an individual level, and as a collective, as all individuals in the collective field. So just for a moment, I want you to close your eyes and move all of your awareness to the center of the center of the center of your heart. And in that most centered place within yourself, to expand your heart field. And while you're doing so, to see yourself in the center of each one of your 74 trillion cells, and allow the heart field, your one big great heart field, include the heart field of all of your cells simultaneously in all directions as it moves from your heart on physical form through all the cells, the physical cells. Let your heart field move through the center of each one of your cells simultaneously. And as you do so, also include the presence of our solar system around your heart, as the first field, then also include the presence of our galaxy, then also include around that all the galaxies, and then also around that all the universes within which we are the center, and out through the whole body into the cosmic spaciousness of our Divine Mother, Father, and the sovereignty, the divinity of that life-giving energy through the whole field, weaving and breathing as one cosmic body of sovereignty. And as you hold your awareness through the center of your heart and all of our solar system, our galactic systems, and our universal systems into our cosmic one body, as you hold that field, also consciously come back to the center of each one of your 74 trillion cells and see yourself standing in the center of each one of your cells, and allow the awareness of our solar system just around the center of each one of those cells to move through your awareness, the center of all the galaxies and all the universes and the whole cosmos, grounding and weaving and breathing as one unified cosmic field of sovereignty through all of your cells. And as you hold that awareness ever so gracefully and ever so gently, also now include being in the center of each one of your bones, in your head, in your neck, your shoulder bones, your arms, your hands, down your spine, all of your ribs, your hips, your legs, your knees, down to your feet, and the bones of your toes, and the bones of your fingers, and weave and breathe the awareness of the sovereignty of your heart field, simultaneously holding our solar system, all the galaxies, all the universes, throughout the whole cosmos, weaving and breathing through the center of all of your bones, then out through the bones to all of your muscles of your head, your back, your breast, your lower back, your womb, your arms, your legs, through all of the muscles, through to your toes, the fascia. Now for all of your organs, let's start at your brain, down your throat, your lungs, your heart, your stomach, your gallbladder, your liver, small intestines, large intestines, your genitals, and now also include your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, and then also include your teeth and all of your hair that's growing out of your body. And now let's include your whole body and all the systems, your respiratory system, and all of your glands, your whole physical expression, and go back again to the center of the center of the center of your heart, And in this moment, continuously and simultaneously in all directions and all dimensions of your body, allow and notice the grace and the graciousness of your breath, weaving and breathing through all the waters, the cosmic plasma of all the waters that's within you, the breath of your air, the air of your breath, the holiness of the water, the holiness of the breath, and the holiness of the lights, the awareness of who you know yourself to be, the divinity and the sovereignty of your true organic nature, weaving and breathing through you as one unified field, grounded in the body of your being, our solar system, galactic system, universal system, and the cosmic body of your body and being. And you can open your eyes, and as you stand still and remain aware of yourself in the center of each one of your 74 trillion cells, weave and breathe this unified field, which is simultaneously masculine and feminine in its nature, which is sovereign, which is crystalline, pristine, and holy, to weave through all the elements of your being, for all physicality of your being, for all of your solar system, galaxies, and universes, and allow this emanation that's emanating from you, your heart field, extend out also into physical form, touching the physical forms in your around you, in your room, in your house, in your home, so that your internal home and the sovereignty of that, who you know yourself to be, and the emanation thereof, that you came here to be as a sovereign leader, guardian, and steward thereof, to emanate out also into physical form, into your community, into your continent and all continents collectively, as we are weaving ourselves as a collective consciousness, grounding and anchoring the sovereignty of creation through our creativity as the creators that we are, emanating that out also now into our solar system, our physical solar system, right through the Milky Way, out into all the galaxies, and all of the universes throughout the whole cosmos, weaving and breathing as one, grounded fully within the center of the center of the center of our unified presence, for the emanations of grace to radiate through all that we are, for all that we touch, to support the organic ascension of the collective, and simultaneously to also support the ascension and the embodiment of sovereignty throughout all of the galaxies and universes, who are all also awakening to the truth of who we are as one cosmic body. And so it is. I love you dearly. love you deeply, and I love you wholeheartedly. Until we see each other again.